So how many of you know Brenda Davis and Santa Molina? Yes, Brenda is my role model, my mentor, my hero, and my dear friend. And her new book, I highly recommend, Becoming Vegan, the Comprehensive Edition. It's a Bible. It's that big. It is, and every detail is brilliantly referenced. And anyway, she's amazing. So in that book, they talk about the vegan heart advantage. And here it is. So if the American Heart Association is saying no more than 5 to 6% of calories coming from saturated fat, well, guess what? Vegans get about 6.9% of their calories from saturated fat on average. That's already above that. That's how low it is. Oh, so I didn't say this. So for all of you that may not know, saturated fat is primarily found in animal products. The #1 source in the American diet is dairy, especially cheese. But it's also found in small amounts in nuts and seeds and other plant foods. It's found in higher doses in the tropical oils like coconut oil, which we'll talk about in a second, palm oil and palm kernel oil. So really, if you add 1 serving of meat to this diet, the 6.9% is going to go up. And if you add 1 serving of dairy, look at the lacto-ovo-vegetarians have about 10.6% of their calories coming from saturated fat, which is double the recommended intake. And then the non-vegetarians, when you're including meat, is more than double, or about double, the recommended maximum from the American Heart Association recommendations. So this doesn't leave room for animal products. It simply does not leave room. So I don't know, I wish we could say instead of limit saturated fat that they would say limit meat, and that would change everything. And we'll talk about that next. The other advantage of a vegan diet is average total serum, our body cholesterol. Our average for vegans, 150, which if you follow the Framingham study and Dr. William Castelli, he basically stated that you will basically become heart attack proof if you have a cholesterol level under 150. Now this is, arguable, but it does, a lower serum cholesterol is ideal. And then lacto-vegetarians have a 187 as an average, and non-vegetarians go up to 193. But they don't really start statins until about 260 for some reason. Hence why heart disease is still the #1 killer around the world. The other advantage of a vegan diet for heart health and everything health is fiber intake. We get, I think it's, when I was looking at that dietary committee 500-page report, it was something like 2% of the population, 1% of the population gets the recommended fiber intake. It's so low, don't quote me on the number, but it's so low that almost nobody is getting enough fiber. Where do you get fiber? To me, I think fiber, I think plants, because you could only get it from plants. And vegans have about twice the amount of fiber intake as non-vegetarians on average. So word on coconut oil. Okay, I love coconut oil. I put it in my hair. It makes it shiny. I go exercise and then I wash it out and my hair is all soft. I love it on my skin. My skin just eats it up. My dog licks my hands when I put it on. But I don't recommend consuming it. Sorry for all the coconut oil lovers. But the whole idea is it's high in saturated fat. But it's medium chain triglycerides. Well, finally we have an answer. Finally, this year, there was a review study that came out looking at coconut oil, and they concluded that basically coconut oil is not much better than butter. It really does act like regular other kinds of fatty acid chains of saturated fat in the body. So if you look at the 5 to 6%, that's going to push you right over. Okay, this is my pet peeve, one of my favorite topics, because this is what throws everything off, as I mentioned. Protein is not a food group. Carbs, not a food group. Fat, not a food group. And when you say things like, this looks like this, carbs are bad, I'm avoiding carbs, or all carbs are the same, like comparing sugar to broccoli, or I need more protein, or this is my favorite when I go to a restaurant and order the salad or something, would you like a protein with that? Fat is good, fat is bad. Or what's the perfect ratio of protein to carbs to fat? This is where this happens, where people they associate protein with meat or sugar with carbs, and it gets very confusing. And I think that's a main source of confusion for the public and how media pick it up. Food consists of, in a broad speaking sense, macronutrients, which are energy providing nutrients, 3 macronutrients, fat, protein, and carbohydrates. You could also get your energy from alcohol, but that's not essential, sorry. And then there's micronutrients, vitamins, minerals. They don't provide energy, but they provide essential functional units that we require for optimal health and functioning. But every whole intact food contains some ratio of protein, carbs to fat, depending on the type of food. Except oil, 100% pure fat, no carbohydrates, no protein. Sugar on the carbohydrate side, pure carbohydrates, no fat, no protein. Meat, mostly protein and fat, no carbohydrate, which means no fiber. Cheese, mostly fat, some protein, no carbohydrates. On the flip side of that, look at what beautiful Mother Nature has created. Legumes, mostly carbs, some protein, low in fat. They're all very similar, but they're all in the really healthy ratios. So let's break it down a little. So this is my meme that I posted this week on social media, because I'm always saying it. Carbs are not a food group. So carbohydrates break down. One of the things it breaks down into, first of all, simple sugar, what we need for energy, and it breaks down into fiber, one of the two most health-promoting food groups of all. And let's talk about that. Why is fiber so fabulous? And I can go on, and I have there's a great research article summarizing it, and research articles don't tend to be this thick, but it's that thick because there's so much evidence on fiber and its relationship to disease. You have a quicker transit time through the system when you increase your fiber, which means less exposure to toxins, right? The sooner it's out, the better. Except for you want to, of course, absorb the nutrients before it goes out, but it does regulate all of that. It removes heavy metals such as mercury from your bloodstream and takes it out. Same with excess sex hormones, which are correlated with increased risk for prostate cancer, breast cancer, sex hormone-related cancers. It slows or moderates, it tempers the regulation and the absorption of glucose. So it goes into your bloodstream at a more controlled rate, which is very important for insulin regulation and all of that. And it also controls the rate of digestion. So it goes slower down through the track, or at the right pace, it fills you up, it adds to satiety, makes you feel full, which of course promotes weight loss. Fiber is time and time again shown to reduce your risk of colorectal cancer. So there's a lot. This is just a snapshot of all of the miracles associated with fiber. And again, this is only found in plants. Phytochemicals as well. There are probably thousands of different phytochemicals that we're just starting to recognize and title and find all of the myriad health benefits associated with each one, all the way from having an antioxidant effect to having bone strengthening effects. It goes on and on. Basically, the plants have their built-in protection of, their colors or their smells or their flavors. Those are for them to protect themselves, but it's a beautiful symbiotic relationship, as it should be, and that also has the same beneficial effects in us, in our bodies. So some fun facts about carbs. That's how I cut carbs, with a pizza cutter. Glucose is the only source of fuel for the brain. The brain requires glucose. Have any of you in your past, I don't know if you want to admit this, I tried the low-carb diet many years ago. I was an actress and a dancer in Los Angeles. So needless to say, people were always attacking me about, you have to lose weight, you lose weight. So I was on every diet for years, and that's why I got very fascinated with nutrition. That was my nutrition story, not my plant-based story. And I tried the low-carb diet. Me and my mom and my sister did it at the same time. And I will never forget, me and my sister were laying on the couch, couldn't do anything, and we're like, you go get the peanut butter. No, you go get the peanut butter, because we had no energy. And you can't think, because your brain needs it, and your body needs carbohydrates to function. So I personally know how horrific that diet is. Carbohydrates are the most efficient source of fuel. Our body loves carbohydrates. You bring it in, it goes to work. Right before a workout, you want to have a high-carb meal. You want to have a banana or a piece of fruit or dried fruit, whatever. It goes right into your bloodstream, immediate source of energy, and it's very hard to store carbohydrates. It requires a lot of energy. I think it's a third of the calories to go into de novo lipogenesis, where you're turning it into fat. Basically, the body takes fat and turns it into fat very easy, but carbohydrates, they want to get out. It is metabolically very, very efficient. So it's a wonderful, wonderful source of food. And the most nutrient-dense foods are carbohydrate-rich. As I showed you, the vegetables, the fruits, the whole grains, the legumes, all the foods that we know decrease your risk for disease. Protein, we bring in protein and it goes into our body and we break it down into peptides and amino acids. There's about 9 essential amino acids, meaning we need them from our diet, and then the rest we can make from those. But there are so many myths. I think that is the most confusing of all for people, is protein. And, well, okay.